Tragic here, and welcome to Heroes of Might and Magic 3. Whoa, this game is fucking huge. Oh my god, that took forever to set up. I think it'll be quicker to set up later. I mean, a lot of my setup was because I was basically going through the components for the first time. Even so, quite a complicated setup. Now, this game, the first things first, don't worry about the camera angle. I will be flipping the camera angle around and doing my normal camera angle. This is just so I could sit down at the table and, go through it as quick as possible. Anyway, this video, as always, will not have gameplay in it. This is just an introduction to the game, just some ramblings and some basic rules explanations just to give people some grounding. Now, remember, I'm not a rules channel. There are much more diligent channels that do all the rules and details. I just play the game, right? So don't use me as a rules channel because I call myself Tragic for a reason. So just be warned. There's very likely going to be errors. Anyway, this game is scenario based, which basically means it's like Mage Knight, as in you choose these different scenarios and you play. And there is a billion scenarios in this. There's team mode, there's a co-op mode, there's a solo campaign mode, and there's the clash mode, which is basically PvP. Now, my particular game group only plays PvP games. Unless there's a winner and a loser and someone crying at the end of the game, then it's not a board game as far as my game group is concerned. I do play a lot of co-op with my family and solo, but not with my game group. And I'm going to be playing a game called Manifest Destiny, which is a scenario on page 8 of the Inferno mission book. Okay, we got that. That's enough stuff. Anyway, whatever. The point is, this is picked because I believe it is just reading it, I haven't played it obviously. This is a blind playthrough. I haven't played this game once before. This seems like a high combat player versus player game. The map, if we have a quick look at the map, the starting map anyway, all the towns are right next to each other. And more importantly, this is an area control game where to win this game, you either need to control someone's city for 2 rounds or you need to control 7 tiles. And so that's like an area control kind of aspect. To control a tile, you need to control either the settlement on the tile or the mine on the tile. Now, what that means is there's going to be a lot of taking other people's stuff. Also, you can't control a tile unless there is no other heroes on it, which means even if you control 7, if there's another hero on your tile, you're going to have to push him off before you can win. So hopefully this is going to be a high interaction, high PvP orientated game. And that's what I'm hoping for, to learn and take that to my game group as our first introduction to this game. Now, scenarios in other games that require area control wins can be a little bit tedious. We'll see how this one goes. And what I mean by that is that if you are in a winning position and I'm winning the game, and then the next player's turn, they remove that win from you by taking something off you, that can actually go on forever. Now, this game does have a round limit, and at the end of the round, you just sort of add up what you've got. But hopefully, this game is designed in a way that it's not going to be too much like that, because that can be a real issue with a lot of games that basically have no defined end condition except for who controls what at a certain point, because basically anytime someone takes something from you, the game can just go on for another round. So we'll see how that works out. Now, with the tile setup, there's something I do to basically make the game quicker for me. And this is something I learned from playing Arkham Horror and other big card game based games, is I used to spend a lot of time setting everything up perfectly. But it's actually a lot easier to just draw something. And if it's supposed to be out of the game, just discard it and draw again. And it's exactly the same thing, except you got no setup time for it. Now, this map, you're supposed to split all these millions of tiles into 2 piles and then deal from one pile at one time. And the idea is to split obelisks between the starting map locations. So if we look at the map, each city has 2 tiles next to it, 2 level 4 and 5 tiles. One of those tiles has to be an obelisk and one of the tiles has to not be an obelisk. So again, when I reveal them, if it just happens to be 2 obelisks together, or if there's no obelisks, I'll just redraw that tile. There's also level 2 and 3 tiles dealt to each player that only they can reveal. Now, this isn't hidden information. They can look at these tiles, but other players can't, and they can choose which one they place out. So even though the map looks like that, there's actually 6 other locations that can be explored. And remember, this is area control, so I would imagine the basic premise would be to explore away from the other players. Also, for this particular scenario, we start with 12 gold each and 4 ore and 0 gems. We also have a player's income at the beginning of 10 gold. Now, when the game shipped to me, it came with these in quote unquote deluxe gold coins, but they're not very deluxe. They're really cheap plastic chits. They remind me a lot of Connect 4 chits, except small, and I don't like them very much. But for objects that get handled constantly, like money, I still prefer them to cardboard. So what I've actually done is I've actually chosen to make all the plastic chips represent gold. So normally the red ones represent gems, the black ones, which are incidentally are supposed to be gray, they represent ore, and the gold represents gold. So instead I've made gold represent 1 coin, black represent 5 coins, and red represent 10 coins. And that's just to make it a bit easier for me. And then I'm going to be using the cardboard chits for ore and for gems. So if you see tons and tons of gems and stuff on the table, that's why. We also start with a bronze dwelling and a mage guild already built. In addition to that, we all start with a single pack of our highest recruitment cost bronze monsters. And I'll talk about them in a little more detail later on. Finally, there's a couple of advanced scenario rules which we are going to be using, and the first one is that they say to balance the game a little better, all abilities that allow you to avoid obstacles on the world map remove from the game, and they give the example of angel's wings. So when you look at the map tile, there's like these yellow borders, they're impassable. So as I was saying with the map tiles, if I ever draw one of these abilities that allow you to ignore those obstacles, that will just be discarded and redrawn. Also, whenever you visit an obelisk, you gain a morale point. Now, morale is in 3 positional states. You've got low morale, no morale, and high morale, and it's just up and down from there. So if you're at the high and you gain morale, nothing happens. But if you're at, say, low morale, you'll become neutral morale. Players can use their deck of might and magic, which is like their handmade deck, when paying gold to defend their faction town. And you'll see that in action later on. It just means that because this is a high PvP scenario, we're given a few extra tools to defend our towns because that is an end game condition. And that's pretty much it. There's a couple of other small little things that will come up during the gameplay. But that's basically the mission we're going to be playing, Manifest Destiny, page 8 of the Inferno mission booklet. Okay, so for our Necromancer, we got Sandro, who is magic user, and he starts with sorcery and a speciality, which is the Cloak of the Undead King. Now, while we're actually looking at this board, you can see the level system, right? So these little cubes go up and down in this zigzag pattern, and every time you go down and up, you then gain things when you level up. There's a couple of sort of level 4 and level 6 are in colors because that's when you add extra cards to your deck. And what I mean by that is each hero, not each faction, each hero has their own personalized 3 abilities, which are different to every other person in the game. You start at level 1 with 1 card, and then as you reach level 4 and level 6, you gain those other special cards, like more powerful versions, or I'm not quite sure, I haven't read them all, but they could be completely new abilities. But the point is you get these other cards added to your deck. Also, you can see that your hand size increases as you level up, and there's these little crown things. These allow you to empower spells with extra force. Now, these are quite a cool resource, but they're rare. You only get X amount of crowns per round. So even if you're level 6, you can only do 3 empowered spells unless there's some kind of effect. I mean, there might not be, but if there's an effect that gives you a crown, you might get it. But otherwise, 3 is the max you can use. So these really need to be used wisely, particularly in a PvP where you can be attacked outside your turn at any point. Okay, so Sandro starts with sorcery and the Cloak of the Undead. So the Cloak of the Undead King says, put this card on the pack of skeletons. It replaces the card statistics. When the Cloak of the Undead King's card drops to 0 health, discard it. So what this basically gives you is an extra life on your skeletons. And it has to go in a pack. So we'll talk about packs right now, actually. So this is our starting bronze unit. Remember, you take the unit, which is the highest cost. In this case, it was 4 gold. These wraiths are what are called a few, okay? But if you look in the bottom corner there on the right, you can see that you can actually upgrade it to a pack for 6 gold. You flip it over, and then it's got slightly better statistics. But more importantly, it can take 1 damage. So if I destroy a pack of wraiths, it turns into a few. If I destroy a few wraiths, it gets discarded. So what this cloak is doing is giving it an extra level of life because they're undead. You discard the cloak, then you discard the pack, then you discard the few. So that's a very cool ability. Now, we have an alchemist, which is Josephine. She is an interesting hero because she is actually a might hero, but she comes with sorcery, so she's sort of like a middle ground. Now, I randomly chose these guys, so, that was just a fluke. So she has the same sorcery ability as the Necromancer, but her speciality is golems. An ongoing effect, that's what that little swirly arrow means. For this combat, you select a unit's health. It is increased by 1. The effect doubles for any golem unit. So what this means is during the combat rounds and everything, every time a round starts, you can pick one of your units and give it an extra health. If it's a golem, it gets 2. That's it. Pretty cool still. And of course, she has the sorcery card, which is the same. So Lord Harriet is a might hero and has estates for both his speciality and his skill. Now, estates is an awesome ability that I love in the actual board game. I don't know how it's going to work out in this particular version of the game, but basically estates in the board game just means you earn more money. And money is units, money is buildings, money is speed. So he's just going to earn a lot more money than everyone else. Now, if you look during the setup, you'll notice that there's actually 2 combat boards in this game. One is a smaller board and the other is a larger green board with a little moat at the end and hexagon tile placements on it. The battle board, the one with the hexagons, is actually an expansion. It's an addition to the game, and it's basically a more complicated version of combat. Now, I'm not going to be using the battle board a lot because I've heard that it really extends the playtime, but I am going to be using it for any player versus player combat, just to give the players a bit more control and things to do during a PvP scenario. But for the rest of the game, we're going to be using the smaller, quicker board, which is, I think, the recommended way to play. Now, the smaller board reminds me a little of Summoner Wars. So it's basically you slide cards around, well, maybe even that game Berserk. You slide cards around this basic grid and it has slight positional data, but it's basically just a quick way of playing cards. And hopefully, because there's quite a lot of combat in this game, this will be something I want to do. I've looked at the rules, and to be honest, the combat doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of situations unless you're fighting really hardcore neutral units higher level than you. You're going to be worried about losing life. It seems to me that the battle board's main function is attrition. So the more units you lose, the slower you can expand, and of course, the less you can fight other players. Now, there is a quick combat rules, which basically means if you fight a neutral unit of any level below yours, you just skip the combat straight away as if you've won. Still, we'll see how that all works out. The point is there's 2 battle boards we're playing. One battle board is going to be for neutral units, and the more complicated battle board is going to be for player versus player. Okay, well, that's about it for the introduction. Hopefully this game's going to go well. I'm really, really hoping that this game is good because it's got the bling, it's got the theme, it's got a lot of the stuff I love in these kind of games, so we'll really have to see how this all comes together. And I'll see you guys next time.